security camera footage that still haunts investigators. The warehouse, April 2019, in Detroit, Michigan. The footage starts with nothing unusual. A wide-angle view of a dusty, dimly lit warehouse floor. Industrial shelving units loom in the background, stacked with old tools, boxes, and broken office furniture. The date stamp reads April 19, 2019. It's 2:14 a.m. In the bottom right corner, a security guard named Kevin Marks comes into view. He's on his usual patrol, slow, steady, clipboard in hand. For nearly 5 minutes, he checks each section in silence. And then, he stops. Kevin tilts his head, staring at something just out of frame. He doesn't move for nearly 30 seconds. Then slowly he lifts his flashlight and walks toward the far corner of the warehouse, a spot investigators would later note was supposed to be walled off. That's when the footage glitches. For a split second, the screen tears, just static and distortion. When the image returns, Kevin is gone. The corner where he stood now shows a dark void. Like the footage didn't just record an absence, but a hole. A tear. He was never found. Police ruled it a disappearance. But those who reviewed the footage in detail described something far stranger. Audio spectrograms showed infrasound just before the glitch, low-frequency noise humans can't consciously hear, but which can cause anxiety and hallucinations. Yet there were no speakers, no alarms. And Kevin, by all accounts, had no history of mental illness. The last thing he was heard saying on his two-way radio? "There's a door here now." There was no door. It was a Thursday night when 23-year-old Ana Delgado vanished. She'd been working late at an accounting firm downtown, and security footage from the building's elevators shows her entering around 10:43 p.m. At first, it's routine. Ana presses the button for the lobby and waits. But as the elevator descends, her expression slowly changes. She starts glancing around, nervous. Then the lights flicker, briefly. When they return, Ana isn't alone. Standing directly behind her is a tall, gaunt figure, partially obscured by shadow. It's hard to make out features, just pale skin, long arms, and a slight lean forward, as if it's breathing down her neck. She doesn't turn around. Instead, Ana begins whispering something under her breath. Investigators enhanced the audio. What they heard was a name. Maribel. Maribel Delgado, Ana's older sister, had drowned as a child nearly 15 years earlier. The elevator doors open to the lobby, but Ana doesn't leave. Instead, she steps into the corner and vanishes. Not walks out of frame. Not camera cuts. She vanishes, like a light shutting off. The elevator camera continues recording for hours. No one else sees the figure. No one else mentions Ana. The police, desperate for answers, eventually conclude she had a psychotic break. But here's the part no one has an explanation for. When building maintenance reviewed the elevator logs, they discovered that 2 elevators had descended at the same time, one recorded on video and another never arriving. And for exactly 3 minutes, that second elevator showed up as occupied, in transit. Gas station security footage isn't usually reviewed unless there's a robbery. But in this case, it started with a local missing person alert. 32-year-old Marcus Yates had been driving back from visiting his mother when his car was found abandoned. Keys still in the ignition, phone on the seat. Footage from a nearby 24-hour gas station showed his last known movements. Marcus enters around 3:07 a.m., looking visibly shaken. He buys a water, glances behind him several times, and at one point leans in and whispers something to the cashier. The audio doesn't capture it, but the cashier would later say he muttered, "I think I'm being followed by myself." On the footage, Marcus exits the gas station and stops cold. A figure stands across the street. Identical clothing. Same height. Same build. But the face was blurred. Not due to video quality. It's the only portion of the frame distorted, like the pixels were actively rejecting it. Marcus turns. Begins running. The figure does too. The two disappear into the darkness. That's the last anyone sees of him. The video was released online and quickly went viral. Reddit threads exploded with theories. Alternate timelines, doppelgangers, AI overlays. But one user claimed something even more disturbing. They slowed the footage to a single frame, and in that brief moment when both figures were in the same position, the shadow from the streetlight doubled. As if two versions of Marcus existed, just not in the same world. This one was never meant to be seen by the public. It comes from a chain motel just off the highway. An unassuming room. Standard layout. Bed, nightstand, TV. The footage is black and white, recorded from a ceiling camera installed after several previous thefts. The guest that night was listed under the name Claire Miller. No record of her ID. No traceable card. Paid in cash. The footage begins at 11:59 p.m. Claire sits on the bed, staring at the TV, which remains off the entire time. She doesn't move. For nearly an hour, she doesn't even blink. Then, precisely at 1:02 a.m., the camera shakes. Not like someone hit it, but as if the entire room flickered. Claire turns toward the camera and smiles. But here's the part that disturbs even hardened investigators. Her reflection in the TV doesn't smile. It looks straight ahead, eyes wide in terror. She lies down in bed, pulls the sheets up, and vanishes beneath them. When the manager entered the room the next morning, the bed was made. A single phrase was scratched into the wall behind the TV. "You're next." Authorities dismissed it as a hoax or a staged disappearance. But just 2 weeks later, a truck driver staying in the same room called 911, screaming that his reflection had started talking back. He didn't check out. This final case wasn't meant for public eyes. The footage came from a state-monitored group home, used for temporary housing of at-risk children. Due to an ongoing lawsuit, names were redacted. But the video leaked anyway. It shows a young boy, around 9 years old, sitting in a playroom. He's alone, drawing on a piece of paper. For the first 10 minutes, nothing happens. Then the lights flicker. When they return, another child is seated next to him. No one entered. The boy doesn't seem surprised. He hands the other child the paper. They both stare at it. The second child leans forward and whispers something, and both kids start laughing softly. Here's where it gets chilling. Later that evening, a caseworker enters to do a head count. Only one child is present. But the drawing, which the boy had previously scribbled in crayon, now shows something entirely different. Not a child. Not a person. A twisted, almost insectoid creature, dozens of limbs, wide black eyes. Below it, written in what experts determined was the boy's handwriting, were the words. It said it's taking the ones who remember. The child went completely nonverbal after that night. Moved to a facility hours away. To this day, he has never spoken again. Closing scene, the pattern. Individually, each case is disturbing. But together, they tell a story investigators refuse to acknowledge. People disappearing on camera. Doors that don't exist. Reflections that betray reality. Apparitions that only appear in digital footage. Some say it's a breakdown in our understanding of perception. Others suggest it's evidence of something much older, a presence that doesn't need to cross dimensions because it already exists between our moments of attention. It waits in silence. In still frames. In 3 a.m. static. Not to be seen, but to see.